Hi guys, this is Arnold, the one hungry Hungarian, coming to you with an episode of Instant Pot Goulash. Today I didn't think I would do anything other than cook because, as you can probably tell, it's pretty gray and damp outside here on the west coast. We don't get too much of the snow, but we do get quite a bit of rain and cold temperatures. So it really is a nice thing to make on a day like today. Let's go into the kitchen. I'll go over the ingredients and the procedure, and hope you guys enjoyed this recipe today. Okay, so we're in the kitchen now. I've prepared all the ingredients. I've like a smorgasbord here. It is a little bit of ingredients, and I understand that, but if you want to make it, I always say let's make it the best we can make it. So I'm going to go over everything with you. The ingredients I usually get for this goulash soup is some good quality cut up pork. This happens to be tenderloin. It doesn't have to be. It could be any other stewing type of pork, as long as it has a little bit of fat on there. That always tastes good, adds nice flavor. And something that I add that sort of traditional in most parts of Hungary is ribs, pork ribs. This is, I would say I'll add about 1.5 pounds of the tenderloin, another 1.5 pounds of the ribs in total. A couple of slices of bacon. I like to start it off with bacon because it does have a little bit of a smoky flavor, and we'll start with searing the bacon a little bit. I usually use the sweet Hungarian peppers. It's out of season right now, so I'm just using this red sweet pepper. A couple of cloves of garlic, some carrots, some parsnips, a couple of tomatoes. This is kind of optional as well. What I really enjoy putting into my goulash is this thing right here. This is a celery root. Most grocery stores will have this. Sometimes it's not cheap. Could be in Canada about $4 a pound even. Depends if you go to a farmer's market, you might be able to get it for a little bit less. But instead of potatoes, I'll put celery root. It's just something I do to kind of reduce maybe the carbs a little bit from eating potatoes. But potatoes traditionally is what you would use. White potatoes, yellow potatoes, whatever you happen to have lying around is just fine. And one good sized onion. As well as for the spices, I have from Amazon, this is not the true stuff. It actually says Hungarian style paprika, sweet pride of Szeged. I've bought it. I was skeptical, but it's actually not bad. I do enjoy the taste of it. It's quite good. As well as I do have some goulash or goulash paste, which you can buy in most European delis and European grocery stores. Not necessary, but if you don't have this, have maybe a tablespoon worth of tomato paste, which adds a bit of flavor and also helps to thicken the soup a little bit. So if you don't have this, use a bit of tomato paste, and also a little bit more of the ingredients that I'm kind of skimping out on, because there's some stuff in here that I don't need to double up on the dry ingredients. For the dry ingredients, we're looking at a quarter teaspoon of coarse black pepper. I put 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika. Now that smoked paprika you see in the dish here is actually from Hungary, and this is the pride of Szeged paprika, which is about I would say about 1.5 tablespoons to start with. You can always look at it and judge it by color. The nice dark red is what you're looking for. If your stew turns initially kind of brownish in color, that means you were probably using the Spanish paprika. As well as 2 bay leaves and some caraway seeds. The caraway seeds you can throw in whole. You can grind it in a mortar and pestle, or what I like to do is I'll take a little empty tea bag and just throw it in there, so I don't have those little seeds swimming around in the soup. And that's it. That's it for the ingredients. I'm gonna start preparing it. So let's go. Now I'm ready to put my ingredients in the Instant Pot. I am gonna be using its saute function to get it started. So I'm gonna do it for 30 minutes. So let's get that started. There we go. And first thing I'm gonna add to it is the bacon. So here it goes. It'll be searing away in a few moments here. And I'm gonna follow it up with the onions and garlic once the bacon is cooking. It's been about 5 minutes. It has started to have a nice little color at the bottom of the pot here, which is good. It'll actually come up while the soup is cooking, so there's nothing to worry about. A little bit of burnt down bacon. Now I'm just going to add the onions and garlic too. Might as well do it at one time. Okay. Now give these guys a couple of minutes to kind of become translucent. I am going to add a little bit of olive oil because it doesn't seem to have too much grease from that bacon. A lot of this stuff you do it, you know, there's recipes and grams and ounces, but a lot of it is by just looking and judging for yourself. And we'll let this cook for about, I'd say about 5 minutes. And then we'll move on to the next step. So with this, again, no real science behind it. You just cut it into small little cubes, and this is going to be wonderful and tender in this soup. The idea is after the onions are done turning translucent, we're going to remove them and just sear this up a little bit to give it a bit of color before we add some of the other ingredients that I'm going to add. Okay, I just removed everything from the Instant Pot and I'm just gonna add the meat. I might do it in 2 batches just because it's quite a bit of meat here, so I'm going to actually do the ones I just added because chances are this meat will allow a little bit of liquid to come out as it's sauteing here, and I don't want to have the liquid there. I don't want to cook it yet. I want to sear it. So in the meantime, set those aside and get these guys in position, and don't move them for a few minutes after you spread them all across nicely. Okay, it's been simmering away here for a while. It's let out quite a bit of juice, but it's okay. I am actually just going to add back or add the pieces of riblets here, or ribs. This is going to add such a wonderful, wonderful flavor to the whole thing. You guys will see. Let this guy get some water out of it as well. Notice I haven't added any spices yet. If you add salt, it'll draw even more of the water out of it right from the beginning. I'll wait a little bit with that. And in the meantime, I'm going to go back to chopping up some other vegetables that I need for later on part of this recipe. Okay. It's been about 3-4 minutes for the searing of this stuff. And I'm going to go back to cutting vegetables. Celery root, which is a phenomenally delicious flavor in goulash, as well as anything else you would normally use chicken stock for or vegetable stock for. This adds just a phenomenally delicious flavor to everything. I'll put it in cream of soups, like cream of celery, obviously, as well as when I make chicken stock or bone stock for cooking. This is wonderful. Unfortunately, most places here, especially where I am in the West Coast, East Coast too, I mean, I used to live in the East Side before, would sell this with the celery itself cut off, which is a complete waste, because the celery that grows out of this kind of celery root is different than the consumer celery you would buy to snack on with your favorite ranch dressing. It's a lot more flavorful, a lot more intense, and just absolutely delicious. This one could use a little stirring. And I think I'm happy with the amount of searing most of these pieces have gotten. So I'm going to add back the onions and bacon and garlic mixture, and give it a few minutes to cook together before I add some more things into it. In the meantime, I'm going to go chop up the peppers and the tomatoes. And now that these are in, I'm gonna give them a few minutes with the meat, and then we're gonna begin pressure cooking. In the meantime, I am going to add some of my spices, and that'll be actually all the spices. I'll wait with the bay leaves before I put the liquid in, but in the meantime, I'm going to add the paprika, smoked paprika, peppers, and salt to this whole mixture here. Not gonna stir it up quite yet. And I'm gonna grab a tea bag, transfer my caraway seeds into the tea bag before I add them in. So set these guys aside. There we go. So a little sachet. I'm an ESL, so pardon me. Give it a bit tie up here, and it'll just go in there with everything. Okay, so I'm gonna give it a quick stir up here. I'm also gonna look for color at this point. If it needs a little bit more pepper, I'll add it. Oh, you guys should smell this. It smells wonderful. I'm actually pretty happy with the base color for it for now. Just see what happens here. Okay, so this has been searing together for a few minutes now. You gotta be careful with the paprika, because paprika is fairly quick to burn. So you wanna kinda constantly stir it as it's searing. I'm very happy with the color. It's nice and dark red. So at this point, I'm just gonna add enough water to, you know, slightly cover the meat, not too much. I'm gonna look for, just try for 2 cups to start with. And yeah, that's about right. It's okay, Phil. This is gonna kind of shrink up a little bit when you pressure cook it. So at this point, I'm very happy with the way this looks. The color is nice. So what goes in there next is this goulash cream paste. It's fairly salty, so I'm not gonna go overboard with it. I'm going to put about a good tablespoon's worth or so in here. And as you can tell, I mean, I added cold water to this mix about a minute ago, and the Instant Pot already has it boiling. This thing is absolutely incredible. I don't get paid by them or anything. I just telling you personal opinion that this is a wonderful product. I've used it pretty much almost every single day, almost, at least 4 times a week since I got it. So there we go. This can now be closed up, and I'm gonna be cooking this on a pressure cooker setting on high for about 16 minutes. After 16 minutes, the meat will probably be fairly tender already, and then we'll continue on adding the vegetables and the rest of the water to make it into a soup instead of a stew. So let me put this on the right setting, and I'll get back to you after the pressure cooking cycle is complete. So on these newer type of Instant Pots, to put it to the pressure cooking mode, I'm actually just gonna cancel the saute cycle and then get this back up to pressure cook. Press the center button over to the time. I'm gonna put it down to 16 minutes. It's on high, it's got a no delay and keep on function on, which is fine. And I'm just gonna start it. And 16, I probably has to preheat, so maybe about 20-25 minutes from now, it'll be ready to be opened. I do like to give it a natural release for about 8 minutes. So about maybe half an hour, I'd say. After the cycle is complete, we'll open this up and give the meat a test for consistency. The one thing I forgot to do is put in the bay leaves, which I'm going to do right now before the cycle actually starts. So I'm gonna open this back up. It's perfectly fine to do that until the little lever pops up, and that's when it becomes pressurized and dangerous. So I'm just gonna add the bay leaves. They will add a lovely, lovely flavor. Here we go. And set it and forget it. So it's been releasing for well over 14 minutes now. I kind of was doing another project in the background. I'm just gonna let the rest of the air out. Shouldn't take too long because it has been releasing for close to 14-15 minutes now. I can't wait to see what this looks like. Oh my God. Smells absolutely delightful. Now, an optional ingredient that totally up to you if you happen to have any at home at the time you're making this or not, is some parsley, which I do have, and I do like to put them in without chopping them up too much. Just wash them once, and then a little bouquet like that will do nicely. Again, will add a lovely flavor. Italian parsley or the normal parsley, doesn't really matter which one. Italian is probably a little bit more closer to the European recipe though. So here we go. This is about to drop that little metal peg that indicates that it's safe to open the Instant Pot. There it is. Ah, that's music to my ears. And I'd like to apologize for some of the focusing issues from earlier. I didn't realize that manual focus would probably work a little bit better for these type of shots. So I'm going to get a little bit closer, just so you can see what this actually looks like. And yeah, I am pretty happy with this. It looks exactly where I kind of want it, and even the peppers are almost completely incinerated with this intense pressure cooking. Okay, I'm gonna give the pork a bit of a poke with a fork. A pork poke with a fork to see where we're at. at this time, I'm going to leave, this is a little sachet of caraway seeds. I'm going to leave it in. I do like the color. It actually looks perfect the way it is. So what I'm going to do is the next step is add all the vegetables. And remember I said I like to add all the juices that it's been sitting in. It'll add a lovely flavor. So I'm going to go ahead and pour that in. As much as it'll take. Actually ended up perfect. And I'm gonna add probably another 1.5 cups, 2 cups of water. We'll see how much it can take. And from this point on, there's no more pressure cooking. You're done pressure cooking. All you're gonna be doing is setting your Instant Pot to boil it like a soup. So depends on which model you have. On mine, I just scroll down one to soup. I'm gonna do 30 minutes and see where we're at. I doubt it'll need that much time. I like to have my vegetables having a little bit of texture left. I do encourage that you stir this up a bit to get the flavors all the way around the soup. And in a moment I'm going to do once it starts boiling, I'm going to do a flavor test to see if it needs anything. Some people like to add hot peppers or even hot paprika, partially or even fully, if you're that kind of a person. I like it. I like things hot. I do have members in my family that are allergic to anything hot pepper or black peppery, so they might not be able to enjoy this as much. A little bit of black pepper is probably okay for her, but too much is not good. Definitely no hot peppers. I will add hot peppers at the end for my liking. So there we go. It's gonna boil for, I'm gonna boil for another 15-20 minutes to start and see where we're at. And I'll get back to you guys once that process is done and see if there's anything left to do. Okay, the soup just came to a boil a few minutes ago, so I'm gonna give it a quick stir to see if it looks pretty good. I think it does. I'm very happy with its consistency and thickness. You guys will see that this is not really a soup. It kind of is more like a stew, really. There's quite a bit of liquid on it, but it ends up having a lot of delicious ingredients on your plate at the same time as the soup. So yeah, let this boil for another 10-15 minutes or so, and we'll check on it then and see what it tastes like. So it's been boiling for a good 15 minutes now. I think it's fairly safe to say that it's ready. At this point, it's a good idea to find this little baggie, which at this time has got some attachments on it, and try to fish it out. Certainly I don't like to have this end up on a plate anywhere, so I'm just gonna get this guy to let go of it. This little parsley, I guess, it's okay. It can come out as is. So I'm gonna remove this from the soup at this point. Set it aside. And I'll give it one final taste test for the broth. That's usually a good indicator of everything else. I do like it. It's not too salty, which is how I like it. And salt is always an option that you can always add in later, but you can take out, of course, once it's in. So yeah, it's ready to serve. I'm going to turn off my Instant Pot and go and serve it up. And that concludes the goulash Instant Pot recipe. Thank you everyone for joining in me with this today. I'm gonna go and enjoy a bowl. If you do end up making it and it doesn't turn out as you had hoped, please let me know in detail what you were doing that may have been different from the recipe. It should be pretty consistent if you follow the steps. But anyways, thank you for joining me today, and catch you next time.